Hi everyone, welcome back. My name is Diana, aka Bookish Di, and I did it! I finished all the prompts for the 2019 Owls Readathon, or the Magical Readathon. Anyway, I finished all the prompts. I initially was only really going to be focusing on the 5 that I needed for the librarian position, but then I decided just to keep going once I had finished all of those. So I want to talk a little bit today about what I ended up reading, because there were some changes from my initial plan, which I talked about in a previous video. So anyway, yeah, I'm actually still a little in shock that I managed to pull it off. It was a little dicey towards the end because one of my books put me in a book hangover because it was so fucking good and I couldn't focus on the next book I was reading. So the first prompt was Ancient Runes, which was retelling. So for that, I read The Epic Crush of Jeannie Lo. It is a retelling of The Legend of the Monkey King. It is by SCE, and that was delightful. That was a lot of fun. One thing that I just really loved about that book was Jeannie was allowed to, just be angry and loud, and that was a fundamental part of her character, and it was just really refreshing to read a book about a teenage girl who just was angry and was allowed to be angry and wasn't really condemned by the narrative for being angry. So I'm really looking forward to the next book in the series. I can't remember what the name is, but the author is also going to be writing a Avatar: The Last Airbender tie-in YA novel about Avatar Kyoshi, so I'm going to be keeping an eye out for that, just because I do love Avatar: The Last Airbender, and Avatar Kyoshi is fabulous. So the next prompt was arithmancy, and was for arithmancy, and that was more than one author. So I read The Price of the Stars by Deborah Doyle and James McDonald, and that is the first book in the Mage World series, and I really enjoyed that one. It was also a lot of fun. The main character, Becca, was really interesting to read about. Her family also ties into the novel, so we don't spend much time with her younger brother Owen, but her older brother Ari is involved in the narrative, and it was really nice because there was more than one capable lady. So I'm blanking on the second lady. I want to say her name is Lowen. Anyway, it was I can't remember what it is. I'm sorry. It was really good. You could definitely tell that it was inspired by Star Wars, and honestly, if it was published later than it was, it would definitely read like expanded universe fan fiction. And I mean, it still kind of does to a certain extent, but I'm definitely looking forward to picking up the next book, or reading the next books in the series. I actually already own them. Anyway, that was a lot of fun. I would recommend it to anyone who just kind of wants a fun space opera romp. For astronomy, the prompt was star in the title. So initially I was going to read Star Wars Queen Shadow by E.K. Johnston, but I was running out of time. Fortunately, I own a lot of Star Wars comics, so I ended up reading Star Wars Poe Dameron Volume 1, Black Squadron. So this series covers Poe's adventures prior to The Force Awakens, and it is written by Charles Soule, art by Phil Noto, and it was good. I really enjoyed it. Poe is definitely a millennial icon, because at one point he says, "We can do it, buddy!" Probably. And I felt that deep in my bones. And so in addition to Poe, we also have members of Black Squadron. We have Lulo, who was a friend of Poe's mom. He showed up in Shattered Empire. We have Kara Kun, who was introduced in the middle grade book Star Wars Before the Awakening. We have Temmin Snap Wexley, who, in addition to actually being in The Force Awakens, was also in the Star Wars Aftermath trilogy. And we have Jess Pava, who is in Star Wars The Force Awakens as well. Anyway, it was really good. It's them trying to find Laura Santeca, running into the First Order, shenanigans. There's a prison breakout, BB-8 being awesome, Poe and his little buddy just being cute. The run is over at this point, but I do own all the trades, so it will definitely be something I continue reading in the future. So Care of Magical Creatures, the prompt was an animal on the cover, and this was another one where what I ended up reading differed from what I was planning on. So I initially been planning on reading Jaren by Kate Elliott, and again, due to time constraints, I ended up reading Lightning in the Blood by Marie Brennan. It is her second novella in the Verikai series. And I had read the first novella a few years ago, and it was honestly like far enough back where I couldn't really remember much about it, so that was a little annoying. But it follows a creature or a spirit brought to our world called Ree, and it's a little bit about her learning her past, how she interacts with the world, and it definitely read like it was a chunk of something larger. So I don't know if the author plans on publishing more in this series or in this shared or in this world. As of now, Tor.com has not commissioned any more novellas. I would be interested in reading more should that happen, but right now it just kind of feels a little incomplete. So for Charms, the prompt was adult work, and I think this is another one where what I had initially been planning on reading ended up changing, and I can't remember what my initial plan was, but what I ended up reading was American Dreamer by Adriana Herrera, and this was so good. It's an adult romance between Nesto, who is a Afro-Latino food truck owner, and Jude, who is a YA librarian. It takes place in Ithaca, New York, and it's a really sweet romance. Nesto and Jude were great. Nesto's family and friends are awesome. It's the first book in I can't remember what this series is called. I obviously prepared a lot for this video, I'm sorry. Anyway, it's the first book in a series. The second book, American Fairy Tale, is coming out soon, and I'm really looking forward to it. I've started reading more romances, and this is definitely an author I'm gonna keep following, I think. So for Defense Against the Dark Arts, the prompt starts with an R, and this one is one where I actually ended up reading what I meant to. So I read The Raven Tower by Anne Leckie, and this is the book I was referring to when I said it was so good it put me in a book hangover. It is Anne Leckie's first epic fantasy. It follows it's like, I can't actually talk that much about it because it's spoilers, and I honestly think that this book is kind of best experience without knowing too much about it. But one of the main characters' name is Iolo. He's precious. I love him. And the characters are really great. The narrative is about language and conquest and oh man, I really can't talk too much about this book without spoiling it. I'm sorry. But it's very good. It's definitely one of my top reads so far this year. So Divination, the prompt was book set in the future, and so again, this is another book where I actually read what I meant to read, and so I read Brothers in Arms by Lois McMaster Bujold, and so this is actually a Verkosigan novel that's set on Earth, funnily enough, or weirdly enough. Anyway, so it's about Miles dealing with what happens when his alias as Admiral Naismith intersects with his life as Lord Verkosigan and all the shenanigans that ensue. His poor cousin Ivan gets drawn into it. Poor Ivan. Anyway, I really liked it. The Verkosigan novels are a lot of fun to read. I'm slowly making my way through them. I currently have Borders of Infinity checked out, which is like a collection of 3 novellas that Lois McMaster Bujold had published separately, and then there's like a interweaving of them, I think, in Borders of Infinity. So anyway, I'm gonna keep reading it. I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. Anyway, next one was Herbology, and so that was Plant on the Cover. So I read Down Among the Sticks and Bones by Shauna McGuire. This is the second book in the Wayward Children series. And this one follows twin sisters, Jack and Jill, who we meet in the first book, Every Heart a Doorway. And this is their backstory. And oh my God, my heart. This was particularly tragic. Like, none of the her backstory books, I think, particularly have happy endings, because it's about how the kids left the lands that they discovered through their doorways. And this one was just particularly sad. I do have the other two books, or the next two books purchased, and I also have, and the cover for the fifth one was announced, and Jack and Jill are coming back, and this should be interesting. So let's see, next up was Muggle Studies, and that was a contemporary book. And so that one, as I mentioned in my previous Elle's Readathon video, I had read Muffin Top. I talked a little bit more about that there. I enjoyed it a lot. Then was Potions, and Potions was next book in a series. And so for that one I read, and that was another one where I changed it. Initially I was going to be reading Armistice, and then I ended up switching it to Ms. Marvel Volume 9, Teenage Wasteland. And that was really good. It's about what happens when Kamala Khan, who's Ms. Marvel and is one of my favorite superheroes, decides to take a step back because she just needs a break from being Ms. Marvel. And it's about the space that she leaves both as Ms. Marvel and as Kamala, and how that affects her friend group. And I really enjoyed it. It was good to read. Kamala's great. History of Magic was a book published 10 or more years ago, and so for that I read Star Wars, New Jedi Order, Agents of Chaos 1, Hero's Trial by James Luceno. And similar to the Vorkosigan books, I'm slowly making my way through the New Jedi Order. It's fine. I mean, I don't have the same nostalgia towards the New Jedi Order that I know a number of Star Wars fans have. And it honestly kind of reads like someone blended grimdark with Star Wars, and it's fine. Like I said, this book was particularly hard because it's on dealing with a lot of depression and grief and guilt. So it was a hard read. I think it was one of James Luceno's early Star Wars books too, and he can be a little hit or miss for me with his Star Wars novels. So for Transfiguration, the prompt was either a red cover or splayed edges, and I read Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. And the physical hardcover copy of that does have red sprayed edges. This is the sequel to Six of Crows, which is about a bunch of murder babies. And this book is dealing with them, dealing with someone who double-crossed them and trying to come out on top and get their goals and just survive the worst of what Ketterdam has to throw at them and win. I really loved it. I also loved Six of Crows. I do want to go back and read Leigh Bardugo's earlier Grisha books, so I can then go and read King of Scars, which was just published because one of the characters from Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom's Nina shows up in that. So yeah, I really enjoyed that. I think Crooked Kingdom and Raven Tower are tied as the top two books that I read for this. And I think that's all the prompts. If I forgot something, I'll just throw it in the comments. So I don't know what career I'm gonna end up pursuing when the newts roll around in August, just because I've done all the prompts. I don't know what I'm gonna do next. Anyway, did you participate in the Owls Readathon? If you did, how many prompts did you complete? Did you do them all? Did you have any specific career in mind? Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. If you liked what you saw, please subscribe, and I will hopefully be making a new video soon. All right, bye.